section and he says, oh, where he dissing Fatso I F Bloodhound did. Again, is already like claiming credit for this, okay? So he reposted, like...
The news hit like a shockwave. Chicago rapper Q50, a figure infamous for claiming responsibility for 9 murders, was shot. The immediate aftermath wasn't somber reflection, but a chaotic celebration, a digital spectacle of self-incriminating posts flooding Instagram as rivals reveled in his misfortune. The story, as it unfolded, painted a picture of escalating tensions, a manufactured beef, and the chilling reality of clout chasing in the rap world. The details are murky, but the core narrative centers around an attack while Q50 was in St. Louis, an event seemingly triggered by a confluence of manufactured drama and a blatant hunger for attention. The circumstances surrounding Q50's presence in St. Louis themselves are revealing. Apparently, his visit wasn't born of genuine connection, but rather a consequence of his management's complex ties to the city. MFK, representing Q50 under the banner of Always Moving Forward AMF, maintained strong connections to St. Louis, even having signed 2 female artists from the area. This history, seemingly amicable, stands in stark contrast to the current hostility. It suggests that Q50's conflict with St. Louis wasn't organically formed, but rather a deliberately concocted scenario orchestrated for notoriety. The crux of the issue lies in the involvement of CTS Lil Wick, a figure who seemingly inserted himself into a feud that had no bearing on his own existence. Lil Dre, another individual with connections to both Chicago and St. Louis, amplified the situation by fostering a relationship with CTS Lil Wick. Dre's ties to Chicago also place him in proximity to figures like YG Fatso, further complicating the web of relationships and rivalries. It's the catalyst for Q50's misfortune, a stark example of how easily genuine conflict can be weaponized for fleeting online fame. The alarming element here is the sheer audacity of CTS Lil Wick's actions. He held no blood relation, no prior interaction, nothing that would logically justify his involvement in a Chicago-based dispute between Q50 and YG Fatso. Yet, recognizing Q50's considerable clout, Wick seized upon an opportunity to insert himself into the fray. When online blogs began covering Q50's diss track aimed at Fatso, Wick jumped into the comment section, ostentatiously declaring, "Oh, were you dissing Fat IF Bloodhound?" This blatant intrusion, a deliberate provocation, demonstrated a profound disregard for the potential consequences. It's a masterclass in how easily a craving for attention can be exploited for personal gain, even at the risk of escalating violence. The fallout didn't stop at a mere comment. Wick escalated the situation, issuing a public ban against Q50 from St. Louis via an Instagram live video, accompanied by a snippet of a song. This act, seemingly insignificant on its own, served as a challenge, a deliberate provocation aimed at instigating a response from Q50. Q50, reportedly dismissing Wick as inconsequential, reacted with a defiant retort, emphasizing his willingness to disregard the ban and essentially taunting the St. Louis native. It was this very response, this outward display of disregard, that appears to have precipitated the attack. Q50, responding to Wick's ban, took things a step further, aiming his comments not just at Wick, but at the entire city of St. Louis. He allegedly made statements portraying a disdain for the city, deliberately pushing the boundaries of acceptable behavior to mirror Wick's provocation. This was not an organic expression of genuine feeling, but a calculated attempt to escalate the situation, to draw attention to himself through controversial statements. The underlying logic was simple. Wick was publicly poking the bear. Q50 would respond with an even bolder display of defiance. The subsequent audio recordings reveal Q50's defiant attitude, reinforcing the narrative of escalating provocation. The lyrics, laced with arrogance and dismissiveness, illustrate a man who believes himself untouchable, operating above the consequences of his actions. The blatant disregard for Wick's warning, the unwavering belief in his own invulnerability, created a dangerous cocktail of ego and recklessness. It's crucial to acknowledge the unverified nature of many claims surrounding Q50. His boasts of 9 bodies remain unsubstantiated, and his statements regarding robbing someone from St. Louis for $60,000 should be treated with skepticism. However, the people of St. Louis reacted with a seriousness that amplified the situation, amplifying Wick's provocation and
TS Lil Wick that apparently got him shot is one of the dumbest beefs I think I've ever heard of. And
ultimately contributing to the environment that led to the attack. The story isn't merely about a shooting. It's a cautionary tale about the corrosive influence of clout chasing, the ease with which manufactured beef can escalate into violence, and the dangers of operating under the illusion of untouchability. The events underscore a disturbing trend within the rap world. The pursuit of online notoriety frequently trumps common sense, with devastating consequences. The digital landscape breeds a peculiar breed of notoriety, a warped sense of invincibility fueled by fleeting internet fame. It's a dangerous game, particularly when the bravado spills over into the real world, blurring the lines between online posturing and tangible consequences. The story of Q50, a figure who's become synonymous with this phenomenon, is a stark illustration of how manufactured beef can escalate into violence, culminating in a confrontation in St. Louis that had many wondering just how far online clout could carry a person before the music stopped. The story isn't simply about a shooting. It's a cautionary tale about the corrosive influence of clout chasing, the ease with which manufactured beef can escalate into violence, and the dangers of operating under the illusion of untouchability. The events underscore a disturbing trend within the rap world. The pursuit of online notoriety frequently trumps common sense, with devastating consequences. The origins of the conflict are rooted in Q50's relentless pursuit of attention. He flaunted wealth he may not have possessed, made boasts of criminal acts that were largely unsubstantiated, and generally cultivated an image of a figure beyond reproach. It's crucial to acknowledge the unverified nature of many claims surrounding Q50. His boasts of 9 bodies remain unsubstantiated, and his statements regarding robbing someone from St. Louis for $60,000 should be treated with skepticism. These weren't just idle claims. They were a deliberate strategy to provoke, to garner reactions, and to elevate his online presence. The blatant disregard for Wick's warning, the unwavering belief in his own invulnerability, created a dangerous cocktail of ego and recklessness. But it wasn't merely Q50's actions that fueled the fire. It was the reaction, the amplification of his provocations by those around him. The people of St. Louis, a city known for its own complex and sometimes volatile character, reacted with a seriousness that amplified the situation. They weren't amused by Q50's antics. They felt disrespected, challenged. Warnings were sent, messages left unspoken yet palpable, hinting at the consequences of his actions. As one voice within the narrative put it, a lot of people was upset, and they was even sending him warnings, bro, that he's going to get dealt with for this in St. Louis if he comes to St. Louis. This wasn't just idle chatter. It was a clear indication of the growing tension, the brewing storm that would soon erupt. The sentiment within St. Louis reflected a deep-seated understanding of the city's own identity. At the end of the day, ain't nothing sweet, ain't nothing nice about St. Louis, the voice explained, emphasizing the city's toughness and its resistance to outsiders who attempted to disrespect its people or its culture, whether someone had genuinely wronged another or not. The way you bragging about it, bro, was considered a significant offense. The disrespect wasn't just directed at an individual. It was a challenge to the city itself. The warning was direct. I wouldn't dare you to go back, bro. Q50's refusal to heed this advice, his insistence on continuing his provocations, only served to exacerbate the situation. He seemed oblivious to the escalating tension, lost in the echo chamber of his own online persona. The pattern of behavior, the chain-snatching tour, the boasts of dominance, painted a picture of a person detached from reality, operating under the delusional belief that his online fame afforded him immunity from the consequences of his actions. You keep thinking that everything's sweet, bro, as the narrative emphasized, highlighting his dangerous disconnect. What compounded the danger was the fact that the conflict wasn't localized. It involved an outside force challenging a specific city, transforming a personal dispute into a territorial battle. It's a different zone having an issue with somebody from St. Louis opposed to having an issue with the entire city, the voice clarified, underscoring the wider implications of Q50's actions. He wasn't just facing a personal adversary. He was challenging an entire community. The suggestion that he named the specific individual he had issues with, directing his accusations away from the entire city.
Chicago rapper Q50, who claims that he has killed 9 people, was shot today, and his ops is already
was a crucial piece of advice that went unheeded. You should have said that man's name. You should have directed us specifically to the rapper who's been clout chasing you online. You don't direct it to the entire St. Louis, because it's going to cause issues for you when you want to come back. The escalation didn't end with Q50's online provocations. It continued with a retaliatory diss track from CTS Lil Wick, aimed at Q50's deceased friend, Lil Jeff. CTS Lil Wig followed it up by recording a diss track, dissing Q50's homie, Lil Jeff. We all know Lil Jeff. His story is very public online. The rise and fall is very public online. This act, a direct attack on a deceased individual, crossed a line. It wasn't simply a matter of responding to a beef. It was a descent into disrespect and a further escalation of the conflict. The voice in the narrative expressed disbelief. I'm like, hold on, bro. You got no issues with this dude. He never robbed your homies. He never killed your homies. Y'all have no type of beef whatsoever. You are in this beef with him because you want attention, and you going as far as dissing dead homies. This behavior exemplified the defining characteristic of a clout-driven conflict, the willingness to sacrifice morality and respect in the pursuit of online notoriety. A clout-deprived rapper is the most dangerous specimen the world has ever seen, the voice declared, highlighting the potential for recklessness and violence when ego and attention-seeking become the driving forces. The willingness to disrespect the deceased, to weaponize grief for personal gain, was a disturbing indicator of the conflict's trajectory. The narrative highlights the disturbing reality that, for some, online validation outweighs common sense and respect. A lot of y'all is bold. Y'all beefing with CTS Lil Wick. Y'all bold. I'm not. I would never beef with CTS Lil Wick. This statement reflects a deeper understanding of the danger inherent in these online conflicts. It's a recognition that some individuals, driven by a desperate need for attention, are willing to engage in increasingly reckless and potentially violent behavior. The description of CTS Lil Wick as a crash-out YN with white privilege underscores a perception of untouchability, a belief that power and status protect against consequences. The stark contrast between the perceived recklessness of CTS Lil Wick and the caution expressed by others in the narrative highlights the differing perspectives on risk and responsibility within this volatile situation. The anecdotal mention of past incidents, one involving a shooting and another involving a court victory on self-defense, reinforces the idea that some individuals believe they operate above the law, shielded by privilege and notoriety. Q50's response, predictably, served only to fuel the fire further. Despite the warnings and the growing tension, he continued to direct his ire at the entire city of St. Louis, rather than the specific individuals involved in the initial conflict. Q50 will respond back to CTS Lil Wick all dissing his dead homies, which I'm not going to play the song, bro. I'm not rewarding Cloud Chaser, man. The decision not to play the diss track itself underscores the understanding that some actions are simply beyond the bounds of respect. The repeated reference to Q50 as a cloud chaser reinforces the perception of his actions as driven solely by the pursuit of online fame, a desperate attempt to generate attention at any cost. The captions on his Instagram post, "Them ninjas ain't St. Louis, still mad I took 60K. Before you F me. Little unintelligible FY brother. And let's talk about paper. Broke our ops. Next funeral I'ma pay," only served to solidify the image of Q50 as a provocateur, actively seeking to antagonize the city of St. Louis. The language used, the casual dehumanization of his adversaries, further illustrated the depths of his descent into a culture of disrespect and violence. The continued references to broke ops and the flippant comment about paying for the next funeral reinforced the perception of a reckless disregard for human life. The final warning, a stark reminder of the potential consequences of his actions, highlighted the dangers of ignoring the gravity of the situation. You should have named the person. You should have said it was just with them. You directing it towards the city. The subsequent events, the confrontation in St. Louis, served as a tragic illustration of the devastating consequences of ignoring these warnings. A stark reminder that the pursuit of online fame cannot shield one from the realities of the physical world.
Like recording a diss track, dissing Q50's homie, Lil Jeff. We all know Lil Jeff.
The escalation had been brewing for weeks, a slow burn fueled by bravado and online taunts. Q50, known as Bloodhound to his legion of online followers, had cultivated a persona defined by audacious pronouncements and dismissive contempt for his rivals. It wasn't just diss tracks. It was a calculated assault on the dignity of those he deemed beneath him, a deliberate provocation aimed at generating notoriety. The language used, the casual dehumanization of his adversaries, further illustrated the depths of his descent into a culture of disrespect and violence. He's pushed boundaries, blurring the lines between virtual antagonism and the potential for real-world consequences, and the final warning, a stark reminder of the potential consequences of his actions, had been largely ignored. You should have named the person. You should have said it was just with them, you directing it towards the city. And now, the inevitable had happened. St. Louis, a city known for its own hard edge, had responded. The internet had become a distorted mirror, reflecting and amplifying every transgression. It saw him, Q50, telling grown men he was sending them to their dead grandmothers, a level of disrespect that seemed almost incomprehensible. And then, the bizarre twist. These same men, these targets of his relentless online attacks, were apologizing, pleading with him not to invoke such a horrifying image. No, Q50. I'm sorry. Please don't send me to my dead grandma, Q50. It was a bizarre spectacle, a twisted performance of power and vulnerability. Yet, despite the pleas, despite the obvious discomfort, Q50 basked in the attention, reveling in the prestige and the reputation of being the biggest, baddest ever. Meanwhile, his rivals in St. Louis weren't backing down. They weren't intimidated. There was a simmering resentment, a desire for their own slice of the online pie, a yearning for the same notoriety that Q50 seemed to effortlessly command. Man, he not tougher than us. We want a clout for being tough, too. It was a declaration of war, masked in the language of internet fame. Regardless of their threats, Q50 clearly wasn't taking them seriously. His next post, seemingly a defiant shrug, announced his impending arrival. Hey man. Yo, I'ma be here. ACEST.A Luois, bro. Right. Saturday, August 16th, man. Y'all come here. He doubled down, advertising his location with almost careless abandon, adding, and then he was also going to be at NGT. NGT. Right after the concert meetup. It was a reckless display of confidence, a blatant invitation to confrontation. This act of alerting everyone of where he was going in St. Louis, ironically, proved to be a catastrophic miscalculation. The after-party spot, a venue shrouded in the haze of late-night revelry, became the stage for a brutal and unexpected assault. The source recounted the scene with chilling detachment, detailing how Q50 and his companions, nestled within a black truck, were ambushed. Somebody came and opened fire on the truck. The video, now circulating online, served as a stark visual testament to the escalating conflict. The report was grim, for people in critical condition. Thankfully, Q50, according to initial reports, was not among the most severely injured. I was told he was grazed. I was told he did have some type of minor injuries. But it's not like the bullet actually pierced him. He was actually grazed with a bullet, but obviously, you don't want to claim it. The need to maintain his image, his carefully constructed persona of invincibility, prevented him from publicly acknowledging the attack. Claiming to have been shot, even grazed, would be an admission of vulnerability, a crack in the facade of toughness he had cultivated. 'Cause if you say, yo, the bullet grazed me, then you got shot by those folks. The frantic damage control began immediately, his team disseminating messages denying any serious injury. Hey man, he wasn't shot. Even his closest allies seemed caught off guard, struggling to reconcile the reality of the situation with the need to protect Q50's reputation. Remo, a contact within his circle, reached out, confirming to another individual, hey man, he's fine, right? He's okay. He's not in critical condition. The situation was further complicated by the fact that his homies, his companions in the truck, were fighting for their lives in critical condition. Yet, even amidst this tragedy, Q50 continued to broadcast his defiance to his Instagram followers. No
is already like claiming credit for this. Okay. So he reposted, like the clip of Bloodhound Q50 being shot in St. Louis, and he sent the laughing emojis. Now, Lil Dre, right, the Chicago dude with the St. Louis plug, he then shouted out a lot of Instagram pages and says, "I love y'all on Too Grave. Y'all stood on everything y'all told me. I got something for y'all." So he is now admitting that, these are the dudes who are responsible for Q50 and his team being shot in St. Louis. And also,
like Big Papa, but I ain't going like Chris Wallace. He was invoking the memory of Tupac Shakur, another hip-hop icon cut down in his prime, seemingly daring anyone to try and finish what they started. The world know who the goblins. They begging for me to stop. The reason they don't ride with Tylers. No sympathy. Dump on mamas. You either in or you out. It don't even question me about it. It was a declaration of unwavering commitment to his chosen path, a refusal to back down, even in the face of potential annihilation. The source's perspective shifted, laced with a mixture of disbelief and grim amusement. At first, I didn't think this beef with St. Louis was that serious, man. But now we into it, and now I'm dumping on your mama's whatever, bro, when I see y'all. It was a recognition of the point of no return, the moment when online antagonism transformed into a volatile and potentially lethal conflict. The mention of dumping on mamas underscored the depth of the disrespect, the willingness to cross lines previously considered untouchable. The trail of responsibility began to solidify, pointing towards specific individuals and factions. CTS Lil Wick, seemingly reveling in the chaos, reposted the video of the shooting, accompanied by laughing emojis. Lil Dre, a Chicago-based figure with connections to St. Louis, began shouting out various Instagram pages, declaring, "I love y'all on Too Grave. Y'all stood on everything y'all told me. I got something for y'all." He was openly claiming responsibility, offering rewards for their actions, further escalating the conflict. Shout out my 95th boys from Chicago. It was a clear indication that this was not a spontaneous act of violence, but a coordinated effort, a calculated strike orchestrated from afar. The source's commentary took on a tone of bewildered analysis. This is from the rack to the loo. The perspective struggled to categorize the individuals involved, questioning their motives. Oh my God, bro, worst part about it all. I can't even be sure if these dudes are stupid or geniuses. Stupid if you actually did this, and you're editing geniuses if you had nothing to do with this and you're claiming it. The ambiguity was unsettling, highlighting the complex and unpredictable nature of the online world. The potential legal consequences were also considered. But also, too, why would you even want the police on your tail like that? Why would you even want to claim something like this publicly? It was a question that underscored the recklessness of their actions. The concern extended beyond the immediate participants, recognizing the broader implications for the hip-hop community. Now, they're not on the level, I guess, as rappers yet to where you now have to worry about your bookings, because now who's going to book you to their venue? The fear was that this incident would damage the reputation of all hip-hop artists, making it more difficult for them to secure bookings and maintain a viable career. All the promoters, right, who are responsible for these like buildings at these, bro, they're not having you do shows in their like in their venues. The source's commentary concluded with a sense of resignation. Yeah, and also, too, why would you even want to now be involved in like a lifelong beef with this dude over something you had nothing to do with? It's just oh my. The incident had transformed a petty online feud into a potentially devastating conflict, with far-reaching consequences for all involved. Folks, it's something else, man. It's like, beyond just a disagreement, beyond a couple of people throwing shade. It's hitting the whole culture, you know? You see how it's rippling out? People are talking. Promoters are whispering. The venues, they're watching. And that's the real danger. It's not just about the individual artists involved. It's about the perception of hip-hop itself. The incident, originating from a seemingly minor online spat, A digital beef escalated by impulsive actions and a whole lot of misplaced bravado has now become a potential landmine for the entire scene. The attack, as people are now calling it, isn't a physical one, not in the traditional sense. It's an attack on reputation, on credibility, on the ability for artists to make a living doing what they love. Think about it. The Q50, the Bloodhound, they're known figures, right? Their music resonates with a dedicated following. But now, every booking, every show, every potential collaboration is filtered through this lens of controversy. It's a cloud hanging over their heads, and the shadow it casts extends far beyond their immediate circle. You gotta understand, this isn't about the specifics of the online feud anymore. Nobody really cares what they were arguing about.
Window with that 60, boy. Need that. No. Huh?
Everything he's saying is
It's about the way they handled it. The escalation, the public accusations, the just sheer recklessness of it all. It's about the message it sends to the industry, to the promoters, to the venues. It says, these guys aren't reliable. They're unpredictable. They're a liability. And what does that mean for an artist? It means fewer opportunities. It means lower fees. It means potential cancellations. It means a slow, grinding decline in their career trajectory. You hear how this is affecting the scene? The promoters, they're suddenly extra cautious. They're thinking twice before they invest in these artists, before they put their reputations on the line. Now, they're not on the level, I guess, as rappers yet to where you now have to worry about your bookings, 'cause now who's going to book you to their venue? It's a sobering reality. The fear is justified. The industry thrives on stability and predictability. And when artists engage in behavior that undermines that stability, they're essentially sawing off the branch they're sitting on. The St. Louis connection adds another layer of complexity to the whole mess. St. Louis, a hub for hip-hop talent, a place where careers are launched and legacies are built, now it's associated with this debacle. It's a blemish on the city's reputation, and that hurts everyone involved. The venues, they're not just businesses, they're community spaces. They provide a platform for artists to connect with their fans, to build their careers. But when those venues start questioning the artist's reliability, when they start factoring in the potential for controversy into their booking decisions, that's a problem. All the promoters, right, who are responsible for these like buildings at these, they're not having you do shows in their like in their venues. It's a harsh assessment, but a realistic one. Promoters aren't charities. They're running a business. They have to protect their investments, and that means making calculated decisions based on risk assessment. And right now, these artists are looking like a very high-risk proposition. The consequences aren't limited to the artists themselves. It's a collective blow to the hip-hop community as a whole. The music gets a bad rap, People start associating it with negativity, with aggression, with instability. It reinforces the stereotypes, the prejudices, the misconceptions that have plagued the genre for decades. It's a vicious cycle. The more controversy surrounds the music, the less respect it receives. The less respect it receives, the more difficult it is for artists to break through, to gain traction, to earn a living. And the more difficult it is for artists to succeed, the more likely they are to resort to desperate measures, to engage in behavior that perpetuates the cycle. Yeah, and also, too, why would you even want to now be involved in like a lifelong beef with this dude over something you had nothing to do with? It's just oh my. It's a valid question. This isn't about loyalty. It's not about settling scores. It's about common sense. It's about recognizing the bigger picture. It's about protecting the future of the music. It's about realizing that this manufactured conflict, this digital drama, has far-reaching consequences. And the weirdest thing is, nobody even knows what it's really about anymore. The original spark, the initial insult, has been lost in the fog of escalation. It's become a self-perpetuating cycle of accusations and counter-accusations, fueled by ego, pride, and a whole lot of misguided bravado. The incident had transformed a petty online feud into a potentially devastating conflict, with far-reaching consequences for all involved. It's a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the power of social media, the fragility of reputation, and the importance of responsible behavior. The thing is, these artists, they're role models, Young people look up to them, emulate them. And when they engage in behavior that is reckless, irresponsible, and detrimental to the community, it sends the wrong message. It reinforces the idea that negativity and aggression are acceptable, that it's okay to lash out and attack others, that it's okay to sacrifice your reputation and your career for the sake of ego. And that's simply not okay. It's time for accountability. It's time for maturity. It's time for a return to the core values of hip-hop: creativity, authenticity, and community. It's time for these artists to step up, to take responsibility for their actions, and to demonstrate that they are capable of learning from their mistakes. The music industry, the entire hip-hop community, is watching, and the future of the music depends on it. The music industry, the entire hip-hop community, is watching, and the future of the music depends on it.
To give you guys a reward, I'm gonna pay for this. And CTS also says, shout out my 95th boys from Chicago, right? Lil Dre. This ish from the Rock to the Lou. Oh my God, bro. Worst part about it all, I can't even be sure if these dudes are stupid or geniuses. Stupid if you actually did this and you're admitting. Geniuses if you had nothing to do with this and you're claiming it. But also, too, why would you even want the police on your tail like that? Why would you even want to claim something like this publicly? Why would you even want to admit, right, being involved in a mass shooting in public? It's just dumb. But St. Louis people took it seriously because he's popping it. He's telling them folks, or telling the world that is, that he robbed somebody from St. Louis for $60,000. He kept showing his wrist. He said he also took that expensive watch from somebody in St. Louis. He told them he runs St. Louis, all right, that y'all can't ban him from nowhere, that he done robbed y'all. So he's popping it. It pissed off a lot of people in St. Louis outside of CTS Lil Wick. I'm just being real with y'all right now, bro. A lot